And also, I ought to just mention, we thought that Henderson might be coming in for Jude Bellingham. The 19-year-old has played both games, hasn't he? And looked a little bit fatigued in the second half against USA. I'm hearing now that this is less likely. It could well be that Bellingham will keep his place in that midfield alongside Jordan Henderson, and it may be Mason Mount or Declan Rice who drops to the bench for some much-needed rest. So lots of ifs, buts and maybes, but we're starting to get a steer of where England are going, and it looks like Walker and Henderson in, possibly, probably Foden in, and maybe Marcus Rashford as well. Oh, Rob, well, look, I've been pestering every single source and contact I've ever had connected with England this morning, and things are far from clear, even at this stage. There's not an awful lot of reports out there in other parts of the media, by the way, about the side that Gareth Southgate's going to put out. Let me tell you what I know. Gareth Southgate will freshen his starting 11 for tonight, and he has a number of conflicting priorities. First and foremost, he wants to win this game and top the group. That makes it potentially a much easier game in the last 16. Secondly, he wants to rest some of his players who he's admitted are quite fatigued, having played both of the opening two games in Group B. And thirdly, he wants to give some game time to those players who need it. And in particular, Kyle Walker, who we expect to come into the starting 11 tonight. Not clear whether it's a back three or a back four, by the way, so we don't know whether it'll be one of three centre-backs or playing right back. But it makes sense because he wants Kyle Walker to get some game time after undergoing that groin surgery at the start of October. Such a key player for England if he does play with three centre-backs in the latter stages of this tournament, his pace to work along the side the other two centre-backs. I also expect Jordan Henderson to come into the midfield. He did the pre-match news conference yesterday, which is always a pretty clear sign that he's probably in the starting 11. And when he came on against USA, he brought some much-needed stability to that England midfield. So those are the two changes we think are going to happen. But I'm getting some pretty strong indications this lunchtime that Phil Foden is likely to come in as well and make his first start at this World Cup. Now, I've only got a single source that's told me that, a good source, but we always like to try and get two before we go yellow and go, it is a big headline, so we've got to be a little bit careful with that one. But it does make sense when you think about it. Southgate has been talking Foden up this week, saying what an important player he is for England, and answering some of the criticism that Foden hasn't started one of the first two games out here. A fresh and firing Phil Foden would be a good option for England tonight, you sense. And I'm also hearing reports this lunchtime suggesting that Marcus Rashford as well might be coming in to the starting 11. So that's potentially four changes to the 11 that drew in that pretty dour 0-0 against the USA. Look, I think there's a lot of clamour for Harry Kane to be given a rest, but I don't think he will be tonight. Gareth Southgate has hinted that he wants a strong team out here, a team that's capable of winning the game. And he was very clear in his pre-match news conference yesterday in the comments he made about Harry Kane. He said there'd been a lot of misreporting suggesting that he'd had an ankle injury. It was actually his foot that he hurt in that opening game against Iran that he went for a scan on. But he said as well he's fine now in terms of knocks. He said it's a difficult decision to make because we have a fully fit squad to choose from, but we're going to pick a team to win the game. And we know that in England's strongest 11, Harry Kane is always picked. We know that Harry Kane wants to play in this game. So even though the likes of Alan Shearer have called for Kane to be rested, my gut feeling is I don't think he will be. I think he'll start this match against Wales, but maybe not play the full 90 minutes, depending on how the game progresses. Again, that's a bit of a best guess, but it seems to be the general feeling around the England camp that the England captain will make his third start in 3 matches at this World Cup. Karen Carney told us yesterday, by the way, she thinks that's right. She thinks Harry Kane needs to be on the pitch to get a bit of rhythm and get some momentum in his game. I have to say, he didn't look that sharp in either of those first 2 games, though, having had that hefty challenge against Iran in the first game. But hopefully things will become a little bit clearer over the coming hours. Remember, it'll only be 6 p.m. tonight that we actually get the formal team news from England and work out exactly the starting 11 that Gareth Southgate has picked. But we're starting to get a better understanding, I think, of Gareth Southgate's approach to this one. A big old game, isn't it? England against Wales.